She said the wedding would start at 4 p.m. on my front lawn. And I'll be honest with you. At first, I thought it was a joke. Like one of those neighborhood pranks where somebody hides flamingos in your yard and you're supposed to laugh about it later over potato salad. But then I saw the white chairs, not 2 or 3 rows of them. Dozens. Being unloaded from a truck like they were setting up for the 4th of July. Flower arches. A red carpet rolling straight across my grass. Workers moving fast, efficient, like they'd done this 100 times, like this was a venue they'd rented fair and square. One guy actually waved at me and said, "Sir, could you move your car? The bride will arrive soon." I blinked at him. The bride, I asked. And that's when she walked up. Linda Harper. HOA president, queen of clipboards, permanent smile, like she'd been practicing it in a mirror for 30 years. She had that look, the one that says she's used to telling people what color their mailbox can be. "You finally decided to show up," she said, glancing at my house like she was inspecting it. "We left notices." "What notices?" She held up a paper like she was revealing the 10 Commandments. "Community event approval. The board voted. Your property has the best lake view. It's for the neighborhood." I stared at the page. My address was on it. The signature wasn't mine. "You scheduled a wedding at my house," I said slowly, without asking me. She didn't even flinch. "It's just one evening. Don't be dramatic." Behind her, strangers were walking across my porch. Someone plugged speakers into my outdoor outlet. A catering truck backed into my driveway. My driveway. And that's when you feel it, right? That tightness in your chest, not panic, not rage, just that cold realization that somebody thinks they own you. "You need to stop this," I told her. She stepped closer. "Or what?" "You'll complain the HOA owns shared aesthetic rights. Read your agreement. I bought that property 3 years ago. Cash. No mortgage, no shared land, no HOA. The previous owner made it very clear he'd opted out decades ago, paid the legal fees, cut the tie clean. I'm not part of your HOA, I said. She tilted her head like I'd mispronounced a word. Everyone here is. That's when I noticed the lockbox. On my gate. Not mine. You changed my lock, I asked. For event security, she said casually. We can't have random people walking in. Random people. This is my house. If you try to ruin this wedding, she said, lowering her voice, I'll call the police and report you for harassment. Guests. On my land. Across the street, neighbors were watching. Some confused. Some filming. Some pretending this was normal. Then a black SUV pulled up. The bride stepped out, smiling white dress glowing in the afternoon light, taking photos in front of my porch like it was some charming lakeside venue. Linda leaned toward me and whispered, You should be proud. Your home is finally useful. That's when I saw it. 2 houses down, sitting on a trailer. A yellow demolition excavator. I had scheduled demolition for Monday morning. Legal permit. County approved. I was tearing down the old house to build a new one for my daughter. Linda didn't know that. And the crew, they were early. I looked at her and said quietly, You might want to move those chairs. She smirked. You wouldn't dare. 3:12 p.m. My phone buzzed. We're outside, ready when you are. I smiled for the first time that day. They're not your guests, I said, and this is not your land. Her smile flickered. Then the sirens started. They grew louder and her confidence snapped right back into place. You hear that, she said proudly. I don't play games. 2 patrol cars turned onto the street. Music cut off mid-song. The bride clutched her bouquet tighter. Linda marched straight to the officer. Officer, this man is threatening to destroy a permitted community wedding. He's unstable. We need him removed. Removed. From my own land. The officer turned to me. Calm, measured. Sir, is this your property? Yes. Freehold. He's behind on dues, Linda jumped in. We have authority. I almost laughed. I had never paid them a dime. Ma'am, the officer said evenly, do you have proof the property owner approved this? She handed him the fake paper. He studied it, then looked at me. Do you recognize this signature? No, I said. But I recognize forgery. You could feel the air change. The bride's father stepped closer. What's going on? Before Linda could spin it, the ground rumbled. The demolition truck rolled slowly down the street, engine deep and steady. The excavator gleamed in the sun. What is that? She asked. My contractor, I said. We start demolition today. You can't. There's a wedding. I didn't schedule one. The foreman stepped out. You want us to wait? The officer looked confused. Demolition today? I handed him the permit. Official stamp. Today's date. Linda grabbed at it. This is intimidation. The officer gently took it back. Ma'am, this permit is valid. Guests were already backing away. Linda leaned in close to me. If you do this, I'll sue you for emotional damages. You scheduled a wedding on land you don't own. She pulled out her phone. Fine, I'll call the county inspector. This house isn't safe anyway. It should have been condemned. That caught me. How would you know that? I asked. She froze just a flicker, then smiled again, because I filed a complaint last month. And suddenly it all clicked. The surprise safety inspection. The anonymous structural complaint. The violation notice taped to my door. It wasn't random. It was her. Ma'am, the officer asked, did you file a report against this property? I did what was necessary for the community. The foreman checked his watch. We're on the clock. I looked at the wedding setup, the guests caught in the middle, and then at Linda. Start with the front porch. Her face lost color. The engine roared louder. The bride screamed, Dad, what is happening? Guests grabbed chairs, heels sinking into my grass. The excavator's claw lifted metal teeth hovering inches from my railing. The officer stepped forward. Hold on. Nobody tears anything down until I understand this. Fair enough. Ma'am, he said to Linda, did you sign a rental agreement with the owner? The board approved it. That's not what I asked. I pulled up my deed on my phone. County seal. No HOA attached. He read it carefully. This property is not under your association. Murmurs spread. One neighbor stepped forward. Wait, if his isn't, then what about ours? Stay out of this, Linda snapped. Wrong move. The bride's father approached me holding a receipt. We paid the HOA $10,000 to rent this location. $10,000? I looked at her slowly. You charged them. It was a community fee. That landscaping I gestured around, mine, those flowers mine. The officer's voice sharpened. Ma'am, did you collect money for property you do not control? Silence. And then someone shouted, she charged us for parking passes too. Another voice, we pay lake access dues, he owns the lakeside. The officer called for a supervisor. Linda pointed at me desperately. Arrest him before he destroys evidence. Evidence, I said. She realized what she'd said too late. I opened my security footage. Clear video from the night before. Linda, 2 workers, unlocking my gate, installing the lockbox, measuring for chairs. Time stamped. You broke into my property, I said quietly. On camera. That's edited, she snapped. The foreman spoke up. We were hired after the owner reported repeated trespassing. You filed that 2 weeks ago, the officer asked me. Yes, after someone kept leaving fake HOA violations on my door. Then the supervisor car pulled up. And here's where it got good. The supervisor stepped out, looked straight at me and said, Mr. Carter, good to see you again. Linda froze. You know him, she whispered. He approved my demolition permit personally. The supervisor turned to her. We've received multiple complaints about your HOA collecting unauthorized fees. That's not true. The bride's father handed him the receipt. Payable to Linda Harper. Not the HOA, her personal account. Dead silence. I looked at her and said, you didn't just plan a wedding on the wrong land. You built your scam on the wrong man. Her hands were shaking now. This is a misunderstanding. No one was listening anymore. Ma'am, an officer said gently, we're going to need you to step aside. Phones were everywhere now. Neighbors staring like they'd just met her for the first time. You set this up, she shouted at me. No, I said, you did. I just didn't stop you. The demolition engine idled low patient. Mr. Carter, the supervisor asked, do you still want to proceed? I looked at the torn grass, the half-decorated porch my daughter's house designed glowing on my phone. Yes, give them 10 minutes to clear out. The bride began crying not because of me, because of her. You told us this was legal, she said. Linda had no answer. Ma'am, the officer said as he cuffed her. You're being detained for trespassing, fraud, and filing a false report. You don't understand, she cracked. This neighborhood needs control. Not like this, the supervisor replied. The patrol car door shut. It sounded final. The supervisor addressed the crowd. Anyone who paid her directly should file a report. The HOA is under investigation effective immediately. Just like that, her power evaporated. Neighbors helped clear chairs. Some apologized quietly. The bride's father came over one last time. We trusted the wrong person. So did everyone else, I said. 10 minutes later, the yard was clear. I raised my hand. The claw came down. Wood cracked. The porch collapsed in one clean strike. Dust filled the air, not chaos. Closure. A neighbor walked up. Why didn't you stop it earlier, you knew? I looked at him and said something that traveled down the street by sunset. Sometimes you don't stop corruption, you let it expose itself. By evening, half the house was gone. The fake wedding was already trending online. County officials were auditing HOA records. The office lights were dark. And me, I wasn't celebrating. I was just standing on my land, quiet again. I didn't serve this country to ask permission to stand in my own yard. And here's the thing I learned. Power doesn't reveal character. It reveals intention. The people who crave control will always overreach. They'll believe the rules are theirs to bend. But greed is loud. It leaves fingerprints. It writes receipts to personal accounts. All I did was hold the line. And karma, it showed up right on time. The next house I build here, no one will ever mistake who owns it. But here's the question I keep thinking about. If I had quietly gone along with it just for one evening, would that have made me the bigger person Or just another person who let corruption slide because it was inconvenient to fight? What would you have done? Would you have stopped it early or let it unravel on its own? Tell me. Because sometimes the line between keeping the peace and protecting what's yours isn't as simple as people think.